Hello, I'm Will.
And I'm Alex.
Welcome to this podcast on goal setting.
Before we start, I want to invite you to set a little goal. What is it that you want to get out of this podcast? It could be anything. It could be to learn how to implement better goals in your life, or just to provide some respite from your thoughts for 10 minutes. Whatever it is, I hope that you manage to achieve it.
The ability to effectively set yourself a goal is an overlooked skill. In broader society, it's something that we just do. Setting goals and creating a plan to achieve them is not a big deal. We often do it wrong, but the consequences aren't normally that hard to deal with. When you're feeling down or anxious, it's different. Not achieving a goal often makes you feel even worse, so getting them right is important. It prevents that feeling of failure and helps to improve your mental well-being.
Goals are mental representations of desired outcomes, and goal setting is the process by which someone identifies their specific goals and then creates a plan for how they want to achieve it. Because there are many different ways to improve your health, identifying a clear and actionable goal is vital for facilitating that healthy behavioural change we're after. However, just setting a goal to make a change is rarely sufficient for a behaviour change to actually happen. You only need to think of the countless unfulfilled New Year's resolutions to know this to be true. A psychologist would call this the intention behavioural gap. Numerous studies have shown that the intention to change behaviour alone doesn't achieve anything. Reducing this intention behaviour gap is often the most important thing for a goal to be effective. Transforming intentions into actions is challenging. Fortunately, research on goal setting in recent years has yielded loads of strategies for helping people set and achieve their goals. And that's what we're going to go through today.
Often, reshaping the way you set goals in the first place is the most effective way to improve your chances of reducing this dreaded intention behaviour gap. Mann recognised the characteristics of the goals that resulted in an intention behaviour gap and separated them into three categories. They were avoiding rather than approaching goals, extrinsically motivated performance goals rather than intrinsic mastery goals, and not following the SMART goal format. I'm throwing lots of new words at you here, but it will make more sense when I go through it. So what does all that mean?
Let's start with approach goals. Approach goals are when somebody moves towards a desired outcome, whereas avoidance goals is when somebody moves away from an undesired outcome. An example of an approach goal might be, I'm going to eat a cup of low-fat yogurt for my afternoon snack, whereas an avoidance goal might be, I'm not going to eat junk food as a snack. Although these goals appear similar in promoting a healthy eating habit, they both make you think and feel in very different ways. Approach goals are associated with positive emotions, thoughts, and self-evaluations, which result in a better psychological well-being. In contrast, avoidance goals are associated with fewer positive thoughts and negative feelings. A good way of trying to implement these approach goals is to think about it like this. Start by thinking what's wrong, then what do you want to do about it? And then set the goal as the thing that you want to do instead.
The second category Mann recognised was the relationship between how effective mastery goals are compared to performance goals. Performance goals involve judging and evaluating your ability, whereas mastery goals, also called learning goals, involve increasing existing capabilities and learning new skills. Not achieving a performance goal leaves you feeling like a failure, but failures while working towards a mastery goal is viewed as a natural part of learning and encourage problem solving. At least, that's the idea anyway.
We are not trying to say don't set performance goals like I'm going to lose 10 pounds over the next 4 weeks. But putting this as the only goal isn't always the best way of going about it. Setting one or multiple mastery goals alongside this performance goal is often the most effective way. For example, learning to prepare nutritious meals or learning a new recreational sport that encourages activity, while saying that you want to lose 10 pounds in 4 weeks.
The third pattern Mann noticed in people who struggled to achieve their goals was that they weren't setting SMART goals. SMART is an acronym that stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. This means that a goal needs to be specific to a relevant problem you are facing. You need to be able to measure if you have achieved the plan or not. It needs to actually be achievable so that you aren't biting off more than you can chew and just building yourself up for failure. Remember to make it time-bound, setting yourself a point where you will achieve the goal in the not-too-distant future.
If you want to be all fancy, you can add an extra ER and make them smarter goals. This means you would evaluate your progress as time goes on, and you would revise the goal at the end. Did you achieve it? If so, how did that make you feel? If you didn't achieve it, what can you do to increase your chances of achieving it in the future, if you do decide that you want to?
Action plans are another way to make achieving those goals easier. They specify where, when, and most crucially, how a goal will be implemented and help individuals plan the specific actions they will take to achieve their overarching goal. Once you have made a goal and thought of this action plan, think honestly about how likely you are to achieve it, or at least progress towards it. Are you just saying it for fun, or do you mean it? If you don't think you will do it, that's fine, but change the goal or the action plan. You can make it a longer term plan and set a goal to build towards it.
Part of this action plan should be coping plans. This is where you consider what barriers and challenges you will face. There are external barriers like weather, money, other people and time, or internal factors like your thoughts and feelings. This is often the hardest step. How do we prevent these barriers from stopping us from achieving our goals? If you can't think of ways to control their impact, that's okay. Maybe this is something a friend, a family member, or a therapist could help you with.
Goals are super important for people in general, but especially for people with mental health problems. They provide direction and motivation for people that struggle to find these things. And yet people with depression and anxiety often find it hardest to set and achieve those goals. Those internal thoughts and feelings so often stop you. That's why goals are such a big part of therapy. When someone reaches out for help, be it friends or family, the NHS, charities or a private clinic, they don't just do it for a laugh. Most of the time, it comes to the inability to feel meaning in life anymore, or because we cannot control these unshakable thoughts and feelings that have dictated our lives. I'm not saying that setting better goals is the cure for that, but what it represents is a means to a better future, one step at a time.
Having depression and anxiety can make you feel like you exist in a different world from everybody else. When you're in this world, you often just crave to feel normal. And you tend to blame yourself for not feeling like you're ordinary. It's so easy to get stuck in this loop. It's okay to feel depressed. It's okay to feel anxious. It's entirely natural. Having a goal to feel normal is a challenging goal to achieve. It's a performance goal that isn't even measurable. Who even decides what's normal? Research has shown that better, longer-term goals are based on finding meaning in your life and having a personal philosophy that gives you an identity. I always had my goal as that I wanted to be happy, as simple as that. I would get so upset and angry with myself whenever I would feel down or would relapse into depressive thoughts again. I'd try and do all these things that I've talked about in these podcasts, and sometimes they would work and it would be amazing. And other times I would just slip back into my old thoughts again. I would say to myself, why can't you just be happy? And sit and beat myself up about it. Until I sat with a university counsellor who explained to me that there are too many external factors that affect how happy I am. There are too many things out of my control that affect my mood. How can my biggest goal in life be something that relies so heavily on other things? We sat and chatted and came up with the idea that I would just try and be a good person. That is something that I felt I could be. We agreed to try and draw a line under the things that I had done wrong in the past, and each day focus on just trying to be a good person. For the rest of my sessions, we sat down and curated more measurable short-term goals and action plans for how I would do it. I still remember my first goal after that session was to force myself out of bed and have a shower before midday, something that I hadn't managed to do in weeks. Your goals and ambitions may be completely different to mine, but my point is that one little conversation changed my whole perspective. and has had a substantial positive impact on my life just by setting the right goal. It can be a long old road, and that's why breaking it up can be so crucial. Having small, achievable goals along the way makes the journey less scary. You can take each day as it comes and try and move forward. Sometimes you won't be able to, and that's okay. There is always tomorrow. I hope that you have achieved the goal that you set out at the beginning of this podcast. Thank you again for your attention and for your time. See you again in the next episode.